Every time you pack last night's leftovers into one of those plastic tubs in your kitchen drawer, you might be storing far more than just your dinner. Most of us have a cupboard full of containers we've collected over the years. Some from supermarkets, some from online orders, some we've had so long we genuinely can't remember where they came from. And here's the thing. The material inside those containers, the one sitting millimeters away from your food, it may not be as safe as the packaging once suggested, especially when you add heat, and regulators already know about it. This isn't a scare story. What you're about to hear is based on publicly available guidance, ongoing consumer concerns, and real gaps in how food storage products are labeled and sold in the UK right now. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, what to avoid, and how to make a genuinely safer choice next time you're standing in a supermarket aisle. So let's get into it. The UK's Food Standards Agency, the FSA, is responsible for ensuring that materials coming into contact with your food are safe. That includes everything from the lining inside a tin can to the plastic tub you reheat your soup in. Under retained UK law, specifically the framework inherited from European Regulation EC 1935 of 2004, any material that touches food must not transfer harmful substances into that food in quantities that could endanger your health. That sounds reassuring, and in principle it is. But here's the tension that the FSA itself has acknowledged in recent years. The enforcement of these standards at the point of retail, especially for products sold through online marketplaces, has significant gaps. A government consultation in 2022 on food contact materials reform specifically flagged the challenges around traceability, labeling clarity, and third-party seller accountability. In other words, the rules exist. The problem is whether every product reaching your kitchen actually followed them. So what's the actual risk? Let me explain it simply because it matters. Certain types of plastic, when exposed to heat or acidic foods like tomatoes, citrus, or vinegar, can begin to break down at a molecular level. When that happens, chemical compounds from the plastic itself can migrate into whatever food is sitting inside the container. The most well-known of these compounds is BPA, bisphenol A, a chemical used historically in hard, clear polycarbonate plastics. BPA has been linked in scientific literature to potential hormonal disruption, and the UK, like the EU before Brexit, has already banned it in baby bottles and sippy cups. But older containers, unbranded products, and items sold through less regulated channels may still contain it or similar compounds. The challenge is that you often can't tell just by looking. A container can look completely fine. It can smell fine. It can feel sturdy and well-made. But the labeling, if there is any, may not tell you what the plastic is actually made from, whether it's been tested for heat resistance, or whether it's food safe under the conditions most of us actually use it in. And that's the problem most families would never notice, because nobody reads the fine print on a food container. Most people assume that if it's sold in a supermarket, it's been checked. That assumption is broadly correct, but broadly isn't the same as always. Now let me walk you through the 5 categories of containers that carry the most uncertainty, and the reasons why verification is genuinely difficult with each one. The first category is old plastic containers that have been in your home for a decade or more. Before around 2010 to 2012, many food storage products sold in the UK were made from polycarbonate plastic, which in many cases contained BPA. The products weren't recalled. They weren't marked as unsafe. They simply stayed in kitchen cupboards across the country, being reused, heated in microwaves, and washed repeatedly in dishwashers. Heat and repeated washing accelerate the breakdown of these older plastics. If you have containers that predate 2011 and you're not sure what they're made from, the material and its current safety status are genuinely hard to verify. Keep that in mind. The second category is ultra-cheap containers from online marketplaces. Sellers on platforms like Amazon, eBay, or Wish trading under unfamiliar names with little or no verifiable history. This is a fast-growing concern in the UK. A product might claim to be BPA-free, food-safe, or even certified. But third-party marketplace listings are not subject to the same scrutiny as products on a major supermarket's own shelf. The FSA consultation specifically noted the difficulty of holding these sellers accountable under UK food contact materials law. The labelling may appear credible. The certifications cited may be unclear or hard to trace back to any recognised testing body. And if something does go wrong, identifying who is responsible in the supply chain can be almost impossible for an ordinary consumer. The third category is containers with unclear or missing material labelling. In the UK, if food contact plastics are supposed to carry the resin identification code, that's the small triangle with a number inside it, usually found on the base of the container. Numbers 3, 6, and 7 carry the most concern from researchers and regulators. Number 7, in particular, is a catch-all category that may include polycarbonate plastics, historically associated with BPA. If a container has no symbol at all, or if the symbol is molded so faintly you can barely read it, that's a transparency problem. You cannot make an informed decision about a material you cannot identify. And yet, these products are commonly found in discount stores, pound shops, and even in some general merchandise aisles in larger supermarkets. The fourth category is brightly decorated or patterned containers, particularly those with printed or painted interiors. This is one most people genuinely don't think about. Some decorative coatings and dyes used on the inside surfaces of cheaper containers, particularly those manufactured outside of the UK and EU with less regulatory oversight, may contain compounds that aren't listed anywhere on the packaging. When acidic foods or hot liquids sit against a painted interior surface over time, there's a meaningful possibility of transfer. The labeling on these products often focuses entirely on the decorative design, and with no mention of the materials used in the coating or any food safety certification that applies to it. The fifth category is second-hand containers, picked up in charity shops, inherited from family, found at car boot sales. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with second-hand items, but when it comes to food contact materials, the origin, manufacturing date, material composition, and storage history of a used container are completely unknown. You have no way to assess whether the plastic has degraded, whether it originally met food safety standards, or whether it's been exposed to conditions that would make it less safe over time. It's not a reason to panic. It's simply a reason to be more cautious about using unknown second-hand containers for storing food, especially hot food. Here's a simple rule of thumb. Write this down if you need to, or just remember this one line. If you cannot read the material, verify the source, or see a recognized food-safe certification. Don't use that container for hot food or liquids. That's it. Not for food you're about to microwave. Not for soups, stews, or anything with high acidity. Cool storage in a container you're uncertain about is a different conversation. But heat accelerates everything. When in doubt, keep heat out of the equation. Now for the genuinely reassuring part. Safe options are widely available. They're not expensive, and they're easy to find in stores you already shop in. The first and most recommended material is borosilicate glass. This is the kind of glass used in brands like Pyrex and in IKEA's 365+ range of food storage containers. Borosilicate glass is chemically inert, meaning it doesn't interact with your food under virtually any normal conditions. It's microwave safe, oven safe, and dishwasher safe without degrading over time. You can identify it in stores by its weight, its slightly grey-tinted clarity, and its clear labelling. IKEA's 365+ range, for example, is typically priced between £2 and £8 per container and is clearly labelled with materials and care instructions. Glass is heavier and more fragile than plastic, but when it comes to chemical transparency, it's hard to beat. The second safer option is food-grade stainless steel. Our brands like Systema and various own-label ranges from Lakeland offer stainless steel containers that are entirely non-reactive with food, contain no plastics in the food contact areas, and are extremely durable. They're ideal for packed lunches, cold storage, and dry goods. Stainless steel won't work in a microwave, which is worth noting, but for meal prep and on-the-go food, it's an excellent choice. Look for the 18/8 or 300 4-grade designation on the packaging, which indicates food-grade steel. These typically range from around 5 to 15 pounds, depending on size and brand. A third option worth mentioning is polypropylene plastic, identified by resin code number 5. This is one of the most widely accepted food-safe plastics. It's used in NHS-grade food containers and is the material most reputable brands use in their BPA-free ranges. Look for the number 5 symbol on the base, combined with a clear BPA-free and food-safe label. Major supermarket own-brand ranges, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, generally use this material in their labeled food storage lines, and the labeling on those products is typically much more transparent than you'd find in discount or marketplace alternatives. Here's what I want you to take away from this. You don't need to throw out everything in your kitchen. You don't need to spend a lot of money. And you don't need to feel like you've been doing something wrong. Most of us simply haven't had this information presented clearly before, and that's exactly the kind of gap that ends up affecting ordinary families without them ever knowing. What you do have now is a clearer picture. You know which categories of containers carry the most uncertainty. You know the one rule that simplifies every shopping decision. And you know that safer materials exist, are widely stocked, and are genuinely accessible in price. Next time you're replacing a container or clearing out the ones you've had since the early 2000s, you'll know exactly what to look for. If this video helped you think differently about something you use every single day, I'd genuinely love to hear from you in the comments. Have you found unclear labeling on products you bought recently? Did you discover something in your own kitchen cupboard that you weren't sure about? Share your experience. It helps others make better decisions too. And if you're interested in going deeper on food contact materials, kitchen safety, or how UK food regulations actually work in practice, there's another video coming that goes into exactly that. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Take care of yourselves and each other's kitchens.